Thank you for inviting me to this conference and to give this presentation here today. I will talk about computing the museum, and more specifically about experiments in what I call algorithmic co-curation. What I call algorithmic co-curation is the collaborative curatorship and selection of works of art done by both machines and humans. So this presentation builds upon recent scholarships interrogating the future of museology, and it's divided in two parts. In the first part of the talk, I will provide a few examples of computational art projects developed mainly in US and European museums to again discuss how these early interactions between humans and machines evolved into an array of practices in the field of experimental museology. In the second part, I will present a series of art experiments in algorithmic co-curation carried out in the past 2 years, thanks to a collaboration with MetaLab at Harvard that I developed based on collection from the Harvard Art Museums in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So museums are still regarded today by the larger community as guardians of the past and advocates of cultural preservation. But as many of us know, in recent years, museums have been dealing with innovation, recontextualization, and repurposing of cultural heritage. So today, museums very much operate in the intersection between art and technology, art and innovation. And as the scholar Nina Robbins reminds us, museums are tools to transfer the tradition into the future. So in this presentation, I will approach museums as not only places for storing and archiving, but also as sites for shaping knowledge, for meaning making, for culture making, and for experimentation. And I will describe myself in the field of experimental museology. The work I've done ties very much with the goals of this field and what we are now witnessing as the actualization of concepts like cybermuseums or cybermuseology, and the successful integration of machine learning technologies and augmented reality tools in museum environments. I want to quote Sarah Kenderdine, who leads the Laboratory for Experimental Museology at the EPFL, by saying that experimental museology not only embraces this constantly changing landscape, but also challenges the mentality that feigns to open up the museum through digitalization while leaving intact its outdated, linear, canonical ethos as the chief custodian of heritage and authority on history. So experimental museology as a field that not only embraces this changing landscape, but also tries to question, challenge, and problematize the very assumptions of art history. My work focused on recommendation systems and cultural heritage. I will give a quick definition of algorithmic recommendation systems. Algorithmic recommendation systems are information filtering systems that provide users with streams of prioritized contents. We are all familiar with them through online platforms, but recommendation systems also were used in museum environments. So some examples are dates far behind the past recent years. So they go back as far as 2007, but even before, with projects like CHIP, which dates between 2007 and 2010, with several versions of museum recommender system that was developed based on content-based personalization, but also recommendations based on semantically enriched museum collections and other content filtering based on localizing information. So localization and also other projects were based on audio guidance. A recommender system based on enhanced audio guidance in museum tours is seen in many projects in the past few years, but also in the late 90s. Another project is eHeritage, which implemented a hybrid recommender system combining technologies such as intelligent virtual assistants, Google Street View, and recommenders. And finally, another example I want to give is M5SAR, which was developed in 2017 and included a variety of methods for museums based on recommendations that are able to sustain multiple visitors, museums, and sites. And this project uses data from the open data sets of MoMA, of the Museum of Modern Arts in New York. But examples of algorithmic curation and algorithmic recommendation are seen also in modern practices and are fully implemented in museums like the Museum of Digital Art in Zurich, which explores through code the connection between algorithms, data, and society. The Museum of Digital Art implemented an algorithm called HAL 101 that compares past patterns, internet searches, available data to select and organize artists and content for future exhibitions. So this specific project is meant to avoid biases in artist selection, human biases specifically based on what can be information on nationality, age, gender, or financial factors. Another project is Art I Don't Like, which was developed by Sarah Frost and Manu Matthew Thomas. This is a very interesting project, which is based on a low similarity score. So Art I Don't Like is an anti-recommender system, in fact, where the algorithm filters works of art that are less similar to each other, selecting works that the users might not like. And another project based on, in this case, high level of similarity is Google Arts and Culture's degree of separation, which helps reconstruct different paths and degrees of connection between two artworks. As we see on the far left of the screen to the far right of the screen, there is a progression of similarity between artworks. Another project is Mosaic, a software developed by MIT and Microsoft researchers for finding associations between analogous artworks based on data from museums in Amsterdam and New York. So there is a collaboration also between different collections in different museums. And in this image, we can see conditional image retrieval by media on the top row and by culture on the lower row. So inspired by all these projects, I started thinking about my own recommendation system for a project called Curatoria Agents, which is a series of interactive exhibitions and projects based on MetaLab at Harvard that explore machine learning in, around, and about the Harvard Art Museums. And it's a project that was developed by several members and affiliates of MetaLab at Harvard. For this exhibition series, I presented my own project, which is called This Recommendation System is Broken. But I started at the very beginning thinking about recommender systems in a very simple prototype, which you can see here, with a user selection on the first row, and then a machine-based selection by content based on visual similarity in the second row, and by metadata based on content classification and categories that were already present in the database in the third row. However, what I wanted to do was really use experimental museology and its vision to reimagine recommendation system, but also the role of norms in collection. So in my project, for a recommendation system, I actually inserted some amount of guided randomization so that the recommendation system that I then created is in a way broken, which is stay inaccurate. It doesn't respond to personal choices, it doesn't collect data, and it doesn't attempt to interpolate preferences. Instead, it surfaces invisible artifacts in the collection, filtering for objects that are either rarely seen or supported by incomplete records. So the idea is that the randomization is inserted based on content that is less viewed or not exhibited in the museum space. Here is a video of the initial prototype. my reflection was based on the fact that at the Harvard Art Museums, the collection counts over 200,000 works of art, and only less than 2,000 are visible in the museum space. So what this algorithm does that you can see here is selecting part of the collection that is in the storage that is not exhibited in the museum and making it visible. And here you can see also part of the code. As you will notice, the works of art are not connected to each other in any evident way, but only for their presence in the margins of the museums. So I developed this project as a personal project together with a group of members at the Harvard Art Museums, which work on the overall exhibition curatorial agents with their own personal projects. So this project was discussed with them, but it was very much a project that I developed by myself and designed. However, over the past year, I included in the project Jonathan Reyes, who became an important collaborator in the project, and a colleague of mine from the Gina Cody School of Engineering and Computer Science at Concordia University. We worked previously on a project called Algorithmic Art to Counter Gender Bias with Valentin Godard. And we're now working on this recommendation system is broken, and his skills were really fundamental to bring this project into shape into a web development phase. So he added his skills as a web developer, but also as a researcher on optimization of collaborative machine learning algorithms. And we created the interface for this project. So now users can access the project, can see the artworks, and can interact with it. And this is a screenshot of how the interface looks today. There is an initial selection of 10 works of art that are randomly selected by the algorithms based on the factors that I presented before. And a carousel view will allow you to scroll through the images, either on the right or going back to the images that you have seen and maybe compare different streams of content. And I will show another video. This video has audio, so I'm just gonna ask you to verify your audio setting before starting. So as you can see, it's a constant process of discovery, but it's also a constant process of restituting value and credit to works of art that are often rarely seen or never seen before in some cases. So every 10 images, the system restarts, refreshes. And so we always see different objects like from coins to fragments of decorative reliefs or statuettes up until contemporary art and sketches of different kinds. So this will be the on-site exhibition in April. And there is also an online, as I mentioned, version of it, which will be implemented with more interaction, and there will be a chance for the users to insert keywords based on their own expectations of what art should be looking like. And then again, the system will process based on randomization a series of images and filter a stream that will show unexpected images that do not necessarily match the keywords. So the project will be hosted on the Digital Review. And hopefully we will be able to reimagine together borders and centers in museums and think about a future for museology that does not look like necessarily outdated vision, but looks more like a new way of experimenting, exploring, and creating a new art history. Thank you. This is my contact if you want to learn more about the project, and looking forward to having a conversation with you today.